Hello everyone and welcome back to this Next.js and Contentful tutorial series. In the previous video, we were able to create the filters for remote OK only and feature jobs only, which you can see here work perfectly fine. Okay. In this video, and those two filters allowed us to illustrate how the equality operator works in Contentful. Namely, if I go back to the query, as you can see here, to do an equality query, we simply add fields dot the field type and the value that we're trying to look for, right? That's how equality works in Contentful. Well, how about the range query? Okay, which is the purpose of this video. Here we have salaries, and we want the user to be able to make a range query. So if they're looking for a job that is, for example, like between this range, we want to be able to get only this one here, like this. If the user selects only this, we want to be able to return only this job. If he selects both, we want to be able to return both this job, and this job, okay, because they match the criteria. So if these two are selected, we want to be able to return 3 jobs. This one here, because this is the salary and annual salary, this one here, and also this one here, okay. And if the user selects only this one, you want to be able to return this job and only this one, okay. So that's basically, and also this here, okay. So that's the goal of this video, and we're going to see how to do that. But before, let's do a quick let's have a quick look again at how our form works, because it's important, and especially that we went through it very fast in the previous video. So in the video where we were creating the forms, so here this is again in the jobs page sidebar form, okay. This the form component, our React form component, and the way it works is very simple. We have our base salary ranges options and all the options that we have here, as you can see in the front end, right? So minus less than 20k. This is this first option, this is the display value, and this is the value as it is selected, okay. Now we have those are the ones here. These are the values, and similarly, okay. But one very important thing that we also have are the bounds, okay. So we have like the mean value and the max value, which are the ranges for each of these select options, okay. So if we see how we handle whenever we select this, first of all, at the UI level, this is how this is handled, right? So we loop over all of the options, okay, and we have an li, which is a list item, okay, and for each list item we have an input, which is a checkbox, and on change, when that changes, well, what you want to do is very simple. We want to call the handle base salary range select, okay. We pass in the event, we pass in the option value, and we pass in the bounds as well, which is that area containing that object containing the mean and the max, okay. So let's see what this function is actually doing. Well, it's very simple. It takes whatever it is that we have selected, okay. If it is checked, then we want to push the bounds and the value in the, remember this value here, this one. If it is checked, then we want to push in this sub slice, because our form is like a blob of it's like a collection of different states, okay. So if this particular the checkbox is selected, well, we're going to change these two slices, okay. And the first slice is to keep track of the actual values that are being selected at any given time, and the second one is to keep track of the mean and the max, okay, that are being attached to each value. So that's why we have here. So the first stage is to get the base salary options, the ones that are currently being selected, and then we push the newly selected one, and similarly we get the bounds, we push the mean and the max, okay, in that bounds, right. And then we create a new form state, right, based on the previous value of the form state and the new base salary options, the new base salary bounds. And the case when it's not, when it's not checked, meaning that we have deselected it, well, we want to remove it from the so we run a filter function like this, and we loop over all the options and we remove them. Similarly, we loop over like this and we remove the bounds. Okay, so we loop over all the bounds that are currently being selected, and we make sure that it doesn't include, we make sure that that the bounds that was deselected, that his min and his max are not in the bound that we are currently looping over. Okay, so that's how it's handled. But now what you want to do specifically in this video is to deal with the Contentful side of things. So how do we do a range query like this in Contentful so that those min and those max, so the min and the max value that are here, so let's say we want to send a query to Contentful to get the jobs that are within this range between the min and the max here. Let's see the Contentful API. So this is how it works. So you have to add these modifiers to the query: less than or equal, greater than or equal. And here we're having an example on how to do that on a time element, on a time field, but it also works on numeric fields. As you can see here, can be applied to date and number fields. Okay, so in our case, number fields, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so let's do that now. So I'm going to come here to search jobs. Here I'm going to add let's add a range filter. Oops, filter. Let's add that here, and let's say Contentful query. Let's call it fields dot base salary, base annual salary. That's how it's called in the database, I think. Greater than or equal to. Okay, and then what is we're gonna call that in the query. We're gonna specify this base salary. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this base annual salary lower than the max, right? Max, and that's it. Okay, now obviously we are not yet passing these two values. We need to pass those two values to the query. Okay, so we're gonna do that exactly here, right? So that's what you're gonna do here now. You're gonna do main base salary equals, obviously we're gonna call the math function in JavaScript. Mean it takes an infinite amount of parameters, so in order to do that, we're gonna use the spread operator, sidebar form state, base salary bounds. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing here like this for max. Do this like this, max, and then we're gonna call max here. Okay, so that's why we have been keeping track of the bounds. Okay, every time a checkbox is selected, we add its bounds to this collection. Okay, and then just at the time of sending the query, we actually filter the minimum out of those values and the maximum out of those values, and only those two are considered to send a query to Contentful to get the data that we need. So this is going to add those filters. So now let's see how it looks on the front end. We're going to have an issue, I think. Let's refresh like this. See, nothing is relevant. One only, and only one. Okay, very good, very good, very good. So if I remove this, you see only the jobs that are relevant for a particular search are included. For example, here this is a search from 20k to 100k included. Obviously this is going to include this job, and it's going to include the job where the salary is 120k. If I add this, it's going to add that job back. If I remove this, it's not going to change much because I mean, the range is from here to here. Okay, so I mean, we want these jobs here and we want these jobs here. So that's how this is implemented. Obviously, we don't have any job that is below 20k a month. If I add this, it's going to add the job that's 50k a month. Okay, and one thing that I want to do, just for the sake of security, is to make, because remember, you never trust the user values. So I'm going to add some security guards here to make sure that at any given time we never pass in values that are not numerics or null values here. So I'm going to add here 10 millions just as a max. Okay, and I think this should actually, you know what, let me add this at the API layer here like this, because like if this array is empty, we can end up with infinity value, which is not good. Okay, so I'm going to add this like this, and here like this, add like a big value like 10 million, something like that, and I think it's going to be very, very good. All right, I think now we have this filter working as well. It's working like a charm, working really, really well, and it gives us the ability to filter based on different salary range. And like I said earlier, our forms, our filtering criteria are working in coordination with one another. Let me explain that. For example, here we are filtering the jobs that are only that have only a certain salary range. But what about, like, we want out of those salary range the one that also allow us to work remotely? Well, if we click here, gonna give the two that are remaining, only those two that match the criteria that we have. If we deselect this, it's going to return only one job, right? And if you remove this, nothing left, right? Nothing matches our criteria. If we remove here, still nothing. If we add here, yeah, now we have something. Okay, now we have something that matches our criteria again, right? So it's definitely something that we want to do. Is to, like I mentioned at the very beginning, is to make sure that our forms, our handlers, are not dealing individually with the queries, but we are doing it in a centralized manner, right? So that we send the whole state in one query, the whole states in one single query, and make a single query. I hope that makes sense. And this is the end of this video, and I see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.